Morning, everyone. Yes, and I believe we can call this meeting to order for November 5th, 2025, electoral area director. And we have Director Sal Demare from Area A online. And welcome to alternate Paula Brown here for Area B. And welcome to the constituents in the gallery. The first item of business is to recognize that this meeting is being held on the traditional territory of the Lillooet Nation. Thank you. And to approve the agenda, we'd like to change the agenda. We'll go through the regular electoral area director's open agenda right through until we finish all of the items under 7. For which the visitors are here, and then we'll go into our closed meeting after that. So with that change, could I have, I also have an addition, a new business item. For number 10, which is civic signage, but can I talk about that when we get to it?
Why don't we do that when we get
to that? Okay. So that aside, I'd like a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Moved by Director John, Director Matt. I try not to forget you on the screen. All in favor, motion carried. So skipping the close, the next item is the consent agenda, which is just the approval and receipt of minutes, sent and correspondence. Would anyone like to pull anything from the consent agenda? Otherwise, a motion to approve. Thank you. A seconder. Director Matt, seconding that. You're okay with the consent agenda? All right, all in favor, motion carried. Is there business arising from the minutes? I just had one item. I saw Branch 66 was asking if I would lay the wreath. And yes, I will. And I will let them know. Staff reports and other business. So over to CAO Paul, please, for a verbal update.
Thanks, everyone. Just a quick update about the fire resiliency report. The goal of this work is to better define what properly established fire services look like within the SLRD. As we know, with the fire resiliency project, and the consultant came and spoke to the team about what's required and what the wishes are of the organization and the elected officials and board moving forward. We're also developing some key governance tools, things that look like updated policies, bylaws, service agreements to make sure our services reflect the priorities of the ratepayers and that the volunteers have safe working environments. Want to let everyone know that this week there's current activity where the contractor is meeting with operational leads from Gun Lake, Braylor, and Burke and Pemberton Meadows Fire Protection Societies. These conversations are an important step in making sure that key interest holders are understood and purpose and direction of the project is understood, and that we in turn gain solid understanding of the realities, needs, and strengths within each society. I want to remind everyone that the communication plan was for these meetings to happen first, and then more overall public communications and feedback will be taking place after that. But it would be good just to note that the consultants are in communities talking to the specific organizations. And that is it.
Thank you. Director Demare, okay. Good. A motion to accept the CAO report, Director Mack, seconded by myself, all in favor. So 7.2, and I believe that is why Mr. Vanderhorst is here and company. Notice on title, construction contrary to building bylaw regulations. Property owners Hitchcock, Mason Apps, Hale, and this is in Area D. And would staff like to speak to this, please? Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Harshan Dhaliwal, building official for the Squamish-Lillooet Regional District. With me is Laura Starr, planning and building clerk, Just a reminder, a notice on title or section 57 of the community charter was provided to local governments by the province of British Columbia as a tool to administer and enforce the BC building code and local building bylaws. A notice on title serves as a public warning to potential buyers, creditors, or other stakeholders that the property may be in breach of bylaws or regulations. It also encourages voluntary compliance with bylaws and regulations to reduce risk to the local government. Once a notice on title has been filed, it can be removed once the non-compliance is brought back into compliance. The property owner has the opportunity to speak today. The property owner must be on the property title, or an agent authorization must be provided. Request for decision. I am happy to answer any questions that the committee may ask.
Thank you. First of all, directors have questions for staff?
I have a question. If you have a notice on title and it's removed, would that come with a fee? And if so, what is the fee?
Under the chart, yes, there is a $1,000 fee.
$1,000 for you to remove a notice on title. Okay. And I have spoken to Area D Director who's absent today, Tony Rainbow. And so I have some input from him, but I would also like to give you the opportunity to speak to this if you'd like. Mr. Van.
Yes, good morning. My name's Don Vanderhorst. My company is Don Vanderhorst Consulting. I have been retained by the owners of Glacier Valley Farm to assist them in a number of land permit regulations, whether it's the SLRD, Land Commission, etc. So I'm here to help walk through that and speak to this issue. But before we do it, I just thought it would be helpful if Dave and Kelly, the owners, just maybe briefly introduce themselves, who they are, and then I will speak to the matter that the committee is considering.
Thank you, and I believe that's fine. The owners of the property have every right to speak and also their agent yourself. So, yep, please go ahead.
Yeah, this is obviously myself and Kelly here. We got the property there 5 or 6 years ago and bought it naively with the assumption that some of the buildings there that are 20 years older than me were grandfathered, which doesn't exist obviously, but we've learned a lot along the way. We brought Don in here to help us get through to compliance, try and get everything up to grade. And we've made a number of things along the way there, which Don can explain more than I can. But our goal is to get up to compliance as quickly as we can, but it's a slow matter on our side to try and be able to get everything in place. We're building out the farm. I'm not sure, I mean, Paula's familiar with it obviously because she lives in the valley there. This property was an abandoned grow-up when we bought it 6 years ago, and in a horrific state with broken buildings everywhere. We've done nothing but improve it, and we're on that path. But obviously we were naive with the permitting and some of the things that we just didn't know buildings that were 60 years old hadn't been done. So that's pretty much, I think, from our side, some of the things, but.
I'd like to ask you a question, if I may, just,
Yeah.
so are you saying that the buildings that are on the property now that are unpermitted, that are the issue at hand here, were there? When you
Yeah,
bought the
so
property?
the barn, the washrooms and the carriage house, there's photos of those buildings from 1982, where they were clearly 20 plus years old there. There's guys in the valley that have lived there for 70 years that say those buildings were 60, 70 years old. The only mistake we made was we put the 3 yurts in, which weren't there when we got there. They were on the property disassembled and they've been put together. And I went into the ALC office to ask them whether we're allowed to do them. They said, so long as we have farm status, we're allowed the 10 cabins and they would have no issue with anything. They said we didn't even need to ask them about it at that point in time. I naively thought that the ALC kind of trumped the SRD. I didn't understand how it all worked back then. So I thought that we were okay to do that. Now we know that we're not. We're happy to remove them and go through the right path to get them in place. So our priority is to get into compliance, be able to have those things in place in the long term the right way. And we're building out the farm to try and bring more farming in. Like we've re-fenced the entire property. We've put in 30 acres of fencing, replacing all the existing fencing, majority of the lean-tos and everything like that. We run the pumpkin patch. We had 700 school kids come through the weekdays for educational things. We've got one of our staff members, she does a full walkthrough. So we're very much moving forward to do more farming every year. We cleared probably 10 acres on top of what was already cleared, although we needed to re-clear the cleared areas because that was so overgrown. So it's a process with a bit of naivety on our side, because as somebody in the valley, when you know about all the permitting, it's very easy to understand it eventually, but coming in, you come in blind and you assume that if something's been there 60 years, you're like, it must be okay, or somebody would have had a problem with it along the line. The same with the rafters there, like the photos from the 1982 flood and talking to guys that run those companies, they were operating in 1980s. So we just, as I say, naively thought those things were okay, and now we know we're not. We're trying to get into compliance so we can build it out to what we want it to be. So our priority by any means is to get there, because the changes that we want to make, we can't do without getting into compliance anyway. So it's in everyone's benefit to get there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, go ahead, Greg.
Yes, so thanks, Dave. I thought it was, when we were talking about it initially, was to give the committee members an understanding of who Dave and Kelly are, what they're trying to do to create a farm and stuff. So the first thing I wanted to speak to was we understand the motion and the request the staff have made. I have explained that. I've talked to Dave and Kelly about what this means. We are moving as quickly and as diligently as we can to address a number of issues that have been raised by the regional district and, of course, in some ways, the Land Commission. So what we would like to respectfully ask, if this notice to register on title can be deferred. Give us the time as we're working through to deal with these matters. We know why you've done this, and we are working with the staff, which, to be quite clear, have been very helpful. We have been cooperative, they've been clear, and we have been working in the last few months very diligently to get things moving. And there's a number of things that we're working on. I'm going to just quickly address them so you can see what we're doing. There were some matters with the Land Commission, which we have resolved and completed, and that is in conjunction with the staff of the Regional District and the Land Commission. We then pivoted over to the rafting staging them, which of course was the subject of the non-farm use with the Land Commission. The staff of the Regional District said, that's fine, but you also need authorization from the Regional District. So we said, okay, fine. So we have prepared and submitted a temporary use permit for the river rafting activity. That there's one last piece that we're waiting for, which is staff have asked a hazard assessment for flooding. We're expecting that shortly. That will go to staff, and once that's done, we expect the staff to then bring forward, I presume, to this committee first for consideration before the board looks at that temporary use permit. So it may well be that I or perhaps the group of us will be back to deal with that in due course. So that's going to deal. That's one of the things that I think the Regional District was clear with us. The next thing that was clear, which is really the subject matter of what you alluded to in your report, and that is, and Dave was speaking to it, is that there are a number of buildings on the property historically, which are non-compliant, okay? So in order to bring those compliant relative to a building permit, we need rezoning. We need the approved, we can't submit an application to bring buildings into compliance if we don't have the underlying approval for the land use. So these things go in sequence, not together. So with the temporary use permit done, submitted, we are now going to pivot over, based on our conversations with the staff, for a full rezoning application for all of the property, which is going to talk about the long-term, what Dave and Kelly want to do, how we're doing it, what we're going to do. And once we have that approved, then we can then go back to board. Okay, can we bring these buildings into compliance, make a building permit to bring all of this approved? But we can't do the building permit stuff unless we have the zoning. So there's a sequence there. So that's one of the things we wanted to allude to you that we understand what this is. We know that those things have to be done. We simply are asking, can you defer the registration as we are trying to demonstrate to you? We are moving forward on several things to address this and continue to work with the staff and of course the elected members to get this thing into compliance. And as Dave has clearly said, that is their view. They have been involved, they're trying to work ahead and they're trying to address those things. So that is the background, and we would hope that you would give consideration to that. And that we can get a deferral of the notice on title at this particular time. So we're open to questions. Members have anything that we can perhaps explain more?
No, very good job.
Yeah,
Yes,
just
go
a
ahead.
general question about TUPs, probably for the staff. Can, my understanding is in the valley that there is a path for temporary use permits for agritourism accommodations. Are those, like a temporary use permit, are those able to be renewed indefinitely? And would that be with the rafting? Or would you have to, if you're using a temporary use permit for rafting and for agritourism, would you eventually have to go for a rezoning?
The chair, Alex, our planner.
Okay, I see.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Yes,
Hi.
thanks to the chair. I can speak to that. So a temporary use permit is typically issued for a period of up to 3 years the first time. They are able to apply for a one-time renewal of a second period of 3 years for a total of 6 years. And after that, they will be required to go through the zoning amendment process. The other point is typically with a temporary use permit, it's for temporary structures and we don't consider permanent structures. So depending on the type of agritourism accommodation you're looking at, a temporary use permit might not be appropriate to cover that off. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'd like just to speak to that. The temporary use permit is just that we have just prepared and submitted is simply just for the river rafting activity on the property, which is only a portion of it. And it's very specific. I know that I've had conversations with Alex about that. I think that the feeling was it would be preferable if we had prepared a rezoning application to cover the entire property, including the rafting area. My argument was that let's do the temporary use permit, and that aligns with the land commission's approval for that same area. So that issue can be continued, is compliant, and as we have that period of time, we will then work on developing and submitting a rezoning application in the interim, because of the intent here is we get the rezoning application prepared and submitted in due course, and that goes through, we get through that, then we don't need a temporary use permit or renewal of it, because we will have got there. So that is the intent. We are not the temporary use permit does not include any permanent structures. As if you've been on the property, the river rafting thing are simply some wood platforms. There is some tents. Those structures we would not deem those to be permanent.
Yeah, there's a shipping container fold-out building.
Yeah.
The washrooms would be the only, and when I say permanent, it's ATCO buildings, and they're among the buildings that have been there for 40 to 60 years. As I say, they're in those flood documentations from 1982.
The other thing on the washroom, just to be clear, the regional district staff had said the current washroom building, which is beside the rafting area, was not to be occupied anymore. And so the Glacier Valley Farm has said, okay, we close it, and we have brought in portable washrooms to provide that service for the rafting. But that's, again, temporary. The intent, of course, is to have a proper building for washrooms, and that will be done in due course. But I just wanted to be clear that we have, as a request to the regional district, have closed and are not using the current washroom building at this time, which is specifically a request from the regional district.
And the yurts and carriage house have been delisted from any nightly rental for the last number of months now.
Yeah. So I think the message here is we are trying our best to deal with things, and there's a range of them, to try and deal with those accordingly, to demonstrate to the region, to the regional district, we are trying to make progress to address the issues we've raised. And certainly, I know in my conversations with Alex, we've said, let's get the temporary use permit in. And so we've done that. And hopefully, in the not too distant future, in the next couple of months, hopefully, the committee here and the board can make a decision on that. And at least that's one other thing as we continue to move forward.
I had one other question. I'm assuming if there's a title, charge on title put in there, that will damage our ability to renew a mortgage and may remove our ability to keep the farm in the first place.
It could, yes. And I think and I guess the message there, and I think Dave makes a good point, that's why we're asking, can you defer this? We're not saying, we're not objecting to it. We understand why, but we're just asking for consideration, just to set that aside as we try and demonstrate to you what we're trying to do and get things, bring everything into compliance.
So I'm looking at the history here, and just with respect, there's been quite a few communications over some years requesting some of these activities with no response from the property owners. So that is definitely included in this report.
That's why we brought Don in, because we didn't have a true understanding of some of the things, and sometimes we'd reach out trying to ask questions. And every question we had asked, we were told to hire a professional, but not advised even what type of professional. So eventually we got to Don, and now Don's helping us hold our hands and figure it out.
I see Director Demare.
Thank you. This question is for staff. What is the timeline for a TPU and also a timeline for rezoning? How long will each one of those take?
So thank you, through the chair, I can answer that. So the temporary use permit process, it only needs to come before the board for one reading before the TUP can be issued. As Mr. Vanderhorst stated, we're waiting on the geotechnical report for that application. We are in receipt of the TUP application. So once we have the geotechnical report, we can process that and bring it forward. The zoning amendment application can take much longer. It can take kind of 6 months or longer, depending on the complexity of the application, and kind of the back and forth that the staff needs to do to request additional information. So it is staff's understanding that once the TUP is processed and we've dealt with that component of the non-farm use in conjunction with the ALC decision from last year, from June of 2024, they will move on to a zoning amendment application that covers off the remainder of the property and make some decisions about which structures they want to retain and move forward with the building permit application for.
Okay, thank you.
We also have Chair Boyd here, and would you like to say something?
Yeah, just a question for Ms. Mackay. A notice on title is delegated to the EAD committee, but a TUP decision would be in front of the board, not the EAD necessarily.
Thank you, through the chair. That's correct. It will come before the board for a decision.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And so are you hoping to have this property removed from the agricultural land reserve? Because a lot of the activities that you're doing, are wonderful, but not on agricultural land, which is the property that we're talking about.
Yeah, we're not looking to remove it from the ALC at all. We actually want to increase the farming that we're doing. It's just that we can't do some of the things that we want to do without getting the rezoning, from what I understand. But from our perspective, the farming is what we want to do. This is the place we want to set up and have it as a farm for kids to come and get educational stuff, and it's for these guys to grow up amongst other things. And yeah, there's definitely no plan to ever have it not farming. It's going to be increasing. We're actually looking at talking to one of the other people in the valley about leasing land additionally from them, because we need more land than what we have. And we're also looking at leasing land down in the city, because the soil where we are is horrific for growing, so we're trying to do everything we can, but we've spent many years amending it and will continue to. But yeah, we're definitely not looking to remove it from that at all.
Another comment, if I may. The concern that I have with this scenario is that had there been a notice on title posted prior to the applicant purchasing the land, that is the entire purpose of the notice on title, to save future purchasers all of the heartache and runaround and time and cost and loss of productivity. And so it's unfortunate that they're in this situation. I'm sensitive to the situation that they're in. I think that the notice on title should not be deferred, and we should continue to work, like the staff should continue to work with the applicants to get to compliance. I don't think deferring this any longer saves them anything other than the $1,000 fee to bring it into compliance, or to take the notice on title off. But I don't think deferring it is a good idea. That's just my comment for the consideration of the board, of the committee.
Thank you. I agree with you. I feel the most responsible thing is looking at the report to follow the staff recommendation. Go ahead, Director Dijon.
And just a general question about a deferral process, because this is quite complex and it seems like there's quite a few issues to address. So if it was deferred, your option would potentially be 6 months. And then my understanding is that after 6 months, it automatically would roll into a notice on title anyway.
That's right.
So the question is it a reality to actually address all of the issues in 6 months?
And Alex or Ms. McKay, did you want to say something?
Sure. Thank you through the chair. No, I would say it's not realistic that within 6 months, all of these issues will be resolved. We can process the temporary use permit application in the next couple of months if we get that additional information, the geotechnical report. But we aren't yet in receipt of a zoning amendment application for the whole property.
Okay.
So the notice on title is inevitable.
Yeah, okay.
And it protects. It continues the process. The staff continue to do the work. The applicants continue to do the work. It's really just delaying something that's going to happen anyway. And it doesn't give them time.
Well, what we can delay doing is, in option 3, is initiating the court injunction to compel the owner to complete the building permit process and remove any building that is not permittable. That would be the next step. And a final comment?
Yeah, I understand your point, when you're concerned about this, if you look back historically, okay? What I am trying to say, without focusing too much on the history, look at what we're trying to do today, okay? I would ask, give us a bit more time to basically demonstrate to you how we're coming. Now, I understand the planning staff point of view, but I think we would like to have the opportunity to demonstrate, okay, here we are in November. Give us the time to continue to move ahead. If 6 months from now, in your opinion, that nothing has changed or we still have to go do it, fair enough. But I think we're trying to demonstrate, irregardless of what's happened historically, in the last little while, we have made some significant steps to address historic issues. Give us some time to continue down the path in the timelines we've done. We've probably done more in the last 3-4 months than have been done for quite a while. I think we're trying to show to you good faith that we're not ignoring it. We're trying to move forward with these things. Let us continue down that path. If at the end of, let's say, 6 months, the regional district still feels that for whatever reasons, that still needs to proceed, okay, fair enough. you can hear from Dave, there's no plans to be selling the property. And yes, had this thing been done several years ago, maybe that would have been a difference. But there are some impacts for the farm if this goes ahead. I think we're just asking for some consideration. Let us continue down the path in the pace that we're doing. Take a look at where we are in 6 months and see if the position of the regional district remains the same, so be it. But at least we had continued to demonstrate to you what our efforts are and how far we've come.
It also allows us time to be able to renew our mortgage before that may not be an option.
Exactly.
And we renew in June.
Yeah, so I think those are some real things that we would like you to take into consideration. We're not saying objecting to the fact we understand why you've done this or with the path. Absolutely, that's not in debate. We're just saying we're asking for you to give us some time as we move through it. It has some negative impacts for us. And it's not taking away your ability. You still have lots of tools to pursue. We understand that. We're trying to work with you cooperatively.
Thank you, and I think Chair Ford.
Yeah, just a point of order.
Yes.
The applicants are here, they can make their presentation, but I don't think they're here to debate with us. And that is a very uncomfortable situation for committee members to continue this dialogue with the applicants. I don't know, and I would ask staff if there's any intel that you may have that this would prevent them from financing tools. Those are not at issue here. This is not an issue of whether or not we are allowing them to renew their mortgage. That's an additional challenge with the banks that has nothing to do with us. But a notice on title doesn't blacklist the property or anything like that. It's just that I'm looking to staff if you've heard that is the case from.
Through the chair, I believe that is not the case. The bank would have difficulties financing the property, but furthermore, it'd be the
Right,
bank's
because they were able
discretion.
to get a mortgage to purchase the property in its current state, and therefore. So I don't want to continue down the path of the dialogue. I would.
Yeah, and I mean, it's unfortunate that this process that you're in now wasn't started at the first sort of opportunity, because this is where we are now. Because the staff have sort of exhausted notices and registered letters and so forth, as you can see. So I think we will, unless the directors have any more questions for staff, or staff have something else they'd like to add. Director Mack.
Yeah, I'd just like to confirm that by putting a notice on title, we do not impact our ability to remortgage. Do we know that for sure?
And is that our problem?
Pardon me?
I don't think that's our issue. I think our issue is more that we're trying to protect a potential buyer that might be looking at this property and should be notified of the issues that are here. That's our responsibility. That's the purpose of the notice on title.
But at this point in time, they're not in the process of selling. So there's no potential buyer to be worrying about at this point. But we may be, in fact, impacting their ability to renew their mortgage. I'd like confirmation on that.
We can recess and get confirmation. I will say, we might not be able to get confirmation because this is a matter to the banks, and banks we've all experienced when it comes to insurance and when it comes to mortgages, banks have very much different opinions. I will say, what is the likelihood if this property went up for sale with a notice on title, the value of the property would be possibly lower because of the potential works that would need to be done in order to shore up. This is the reason why notice on titles. Notice on titles do have $1,000 fee to remove it once we're hearing good faith to shore that there will be a process and plan. However, this helps. If staff time has been exhausted, extensions would continue to do that.
Yeah. I'm with you.
And I don't know if we can get confirmation and whether, I think it's up to the board whether or not that decision, which has never been considered at this table in the past and hasn't been raised, is part of what informs whatever motion the board decides to, or the EAD committee decides to put on the table.
Well, I could be sympathetic on the one hand, but I think it's irrelevant to the decision that we're trying to make here, right? Given the information that's been presented in the staff report. I'm happy to take a 5-minute recess, though.
I don't know if 5 minutes will do it.
Oh.
And because we're not a bank.
And
We
I'm
can't
not
speak on
sure.
behalf of the bank. It's never come up as an issue.
Yeah. This okay?
Staff.
Director Demare. Oh, Director Demare, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand. There you are. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Knowing how long it's gonna take to go through the process for them to be able to do the rezoning, because that's the key piece here, is and the way we've got it set up now where if you give them the 6-month deferral, they're not gonna meet that. So it's gonna be a notice on title either way.
Yeah.
So I think we just put the notice on title and move forward. They still gotta move forward
Yeah.
to take it off. They have to get to the point of having a building permit. And I think that's what we have to do.
So are you moving option 1, Director Demare?
Yes.
Okay. Would someone like to second that? I'm okay seconding it. Any other comments, questions?
Just a comment, I know we're not meant to really dialogue back and forth, but the difference between now and deferring it 6 months is that within those 6 months, everything on that, like everything that's at issue here would have to be compliant for it to not go forward. Is my understanding, because of a new update that you guys have recently, that these delays just roll automatically in unless everything's addressed.
Correct.
So if that really is a challenge to get everything compliant, is the Band-Aid pulled now
Exactly.
or pulled later? Yeah.
Danielle, what?
I do have some information,
Okay.
which is only, we're not banks. We're not, so I
It's
can't.
not financial advice.
This is not a financial advisor. It is with the understanding that renewals are different than purchases, and renewals are much more lenient when it comes to these things. And it has not been raised as an issue.
Okay. That's good to hear. So we have a mover and a seconder. Option 1 is to file section 57 community charter notice in the land title office with respect to the property. The property owner may apply to have the notice removed once the contravention has been resolved. That's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? You're opposed, Director Knapp? 1 opposed, Director Knapp? Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you very much, guys.
So. Jesus.
So this is send this here for the next time. Okay. But good for one place.
Oh, okay.
And then we were yes.
It seems like
It's true, we have the owl. Like this left you to take a breath and let people keep themselves separation.
another.
I am getting up to 7.3. On page 42, there we go. Okay, this is a request for decision and notice on title construction contrary to building bylaw regulations. Galand, Area C, and Mr. Galand is here. Welcome, thank you for coming. And we have the recommendations from staff, and I'd like to hear from staff, please.
Through the chair, I am open to answer any questions the committee may ask, and furthermore, Mr. Bland has submitted one of the two required building permit applications and is making progress towards compliance. Thank you.
The rest here.
You got it right in your hand. That's very good to hear, thank you. Is Ms. McKay wanting to speak to this any further, or?
You want?
Yeah, by all means, come and sit at the table if you'd like to say something.
You want just? Yeah, I'll stand in for second time.
Oh, I see, you're submitting your second.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I can
Thank
take
you.
the recommendation.
The guy I was dealing with was home for medical. That's why it took longer.
So are you receiving a second application here as required? Is that what I'm understanding?
The second supporting document.
Well, it was the outstanding, they needed appendix D and letter of insurance for the second one, and that's what that is.
Through the chair, I'm happy to accept documentation. I will need time to process it.
Of course.
Well, then you could defer this for a month.
People, does that sound all right? Okay, Director Demare, are you hearing this?
Is that fine?
Just some more documentation has come in towards resolving this, and it's been suggested that we defer this for a month. Director Knapp?
Well, I would say we do the option 3.
Which page are you on?
44, it's on page 44, to defer filing a section 57 community charter notice in the land title office to allow the property owner time to complete the building permit process. In this case, it allows staff time to review the documentation that has been received today. And if a building permit application is not satisfactorily completed by the property owner within 6 months, staff will file the notice on title pursuant to the community charter section 57.
Okay, so that was, you said 6 months, but Chair said 1 month.
Well, that would be option 4. I mean, I'm not here to make a vote, but I would say option 3 is perfectly acceptable.
And I know, and I also understand that just saying a month from now doesn't work well for staff in terms of timelines for meetings and all the rest of it, so. We're looking at option 3, I think. Okay. Is that your motion?
That's it.
Okay, moved by Director Knapp. Seconded by Director Dujon. All in favor? Motion carried. Option 3. So that is defer filing section 57 for 6 months. Yep.
It's filing 57, is it? Not filing, no.
Defer it.
I think I was
You're just not hearing me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so get all your stuff done and
Okay.
hopefully we won't see you again.
And just a comment, just that if it's not completed within the 6 months, the notice of title is automatically put on the property, so that's your timeline.
Yeah, I doubled it actually, so there's 2 geotech report and engineer signed off. instead of
Hopefully you
one,
need
so.
considerably less time than that. Okay,
Good.
thank you. We voted on that? Okay, good. So thank you very much for coming today. Now we're moving on to 7.4.
That's fine.
Area A is coming up next, so. Bye-bye. This is a request for decision notice of title construction contrary to building bylaw regulations. Anderson Buntain in Area A. This one was deferred from the September EAD meeting. And would staff like to speak to it?
Through the chair, I'm open to answer any questions you might have.
I don't have any questions. Director Ramirez? Yep, I see you, Sal. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah. Going through this thing, when the initial permit was under the old building bylaw, which was 2 years, and then the building inspector could extend it. And it was extended a number of times. I'm just wondering if the building department could, or the building inspector could ask or could answer why it was extended that many times. It was continually being extended, and looking at the statement that the proponent has sent us in his report, there were definitely a lot of issues, and being in a remote area like we are, I went through the same basic scenarios when we were building, and we were extended a number of times. So I'd just like to ask the building department that question. I've got a couple more, but just on that one there, why were they extended that number of times?
Arlene, please, yeah.
Through the chair.
Yes, do come up, and if you read your last name, please, but I forget what it is.
My name is Arlene King. I'm the senior building clerk. I've been in the building department for the last 20 years. So through the chair, the reason that particular file has had those numerous extensions, our building bylaw 863 permitted reactivation and renewals. And so with the onus on the owner to complete the permit, and if they asked for a renewal, it was at the discretion of the building official to permit that, which they did. And with our new building bylaw that came into effect in 2020, you're only permitted one renewal once the permit's issued. And these people have already been given more than that. So that's why the decision is to follow through with the notice on title, as this construction has not been completed with final. Thank you.
Yes.
Lots of questions. Would a final inspection like remove the notice on title? Or would it be challenging because they've applied so long ago that the building code that they applied under, and now they might have to update to meet new building codes? I'm not sure if I'm asking that clearly, but yeah.
Thank you. Through the chair, the BC building code has been revised 3 times since the building application was received. So the owner would have to reapply as a new building application for the new code and meet compliance.
Which, in my understanding, that could be challenging depending on what the updates are, or it's hard to know.
Through the chair, there are certainly ways to bring it up to code.
Okay. And Director Matt, and I know Director Demare has some more questions too. Go ahead, also.
Yeah, I actually was talking to Arlene about this earlier today. Like, it really kind of frustrates me that the provincial people that do the building code updates, to me, they're not in the real world. Like, you take a 50 to 80-year-old house and somebody goes to do a reno on it or whatever, and then they say, oh no, but now you have to bring that up to today's standards, to today's code. In my mind, that's impossible to do unless you've got a lot of money and a lot of time. And people don't have that. So it just seems to me that there has to be a fairer way of doing this to meet the objectives that they want. But like, to try and make a 80 or 60-year-old house compliant with today's codes, to me, I just find that rather challenging. And then we end up in the situations we end up in. There's no give and take. It's just, you have to bring it up to this, and that's it. I don't think that's right, because I think it's almost impossible to do. And then we end up with people ignoring, you know, our bylaws or whatever. And then, like I say, we end up with this. I think our most important thing would be to try and get all these people to meet the best standards from a safety point of view and, you know, environmental or whatever point of view that they can attain. Most important thing to me is safety. And there needs to be a way to accomplish that without making it so, you know, so expensive in a rows to do it. So that's just my thoughts.
Thank you. Director Demare?
No, my other two questions were answered. One was the new building bylaw came in 2020. And so they renewed it twice through that. So it's been renewed quite a few times. And it's unfortunate that, as you've seen, if you've looked at the report, most of the work is done from the spring to the fall and not much work in the wintertime. And it is unfortunate that they're in the position that they're in. And it's a tough call for sure. But I think if a notice on title goes on, they're going to have to get a new building permit to move forward. Is that correct?
To the chair, thank you. Yes.
And what's the timeline on a new building permit?
Through the chair, we still say 12 to 14 weeks for the first review on receipt of all documentation.
So it could be ready for the springtime.
They can get their documentation in.
And how much would a building permit cost for a building like that one?
Through the chair, with the fact that the permit has expired, our policy has been to take a application processing fee of 2,030, which we request for all single family dwellings and no other fees. So that would be the full fee to issue a permit in order to complete construction of and close that permit process from before. So we would issue that permit for them to final that building.
I'm just curious. When this happens, and they have to adhere to the new building code, are there would staff or could staff look at what they have in place from the first building permit and see what added things they'd have to comply with? Is there a list?
Through the chair, yes, there would be a list, and like the design drawings would need minimal changes. The only major change would be hiring an energy advisor to look at the as-builts and then putting that forward. Thank you.
Hiring an energy advisor is how, do you do that in area A, Sal? Have you had any energy advisors visit area A? I'm just curious.
Well, I mean, that's one of the issues that we've got being rural is that exactly that. And yeah, so it's a tough call because if we give them the 6 months, it won't give enough time, and all the work would have to be done in the winter. So
6 months takes them to March.
But he's seeing a pattern of work not being done in the winter.
Yeah.
And in the months that are more comfortable to work outside in, probably.
Yeah.
Or maybe other work, we don't know what happens. And yes.
Sorry, can I ask a question, clarification from the staff? Is the automatic notice on title is if it's not complete and they don't have the final, or that their applications are prepared for the build?
Sorry, I didn't.
So if we delayed 6 months with the motion, if we have a motion where you can delay 6 months and then a notice on title automatically happens. If the progress had, the applications haven't been put in and all the documentation required hasn't put in, is that correct? It's not, they have to be done building in 6 months.
Okay. Did you understand that, Sal?
Yeah, they'd have to have a building permit, new building permit.
So what's your preference?
Well, I think, looking at the timeline from when this all started and the amount of renewals that we've had, I think I'll go with option 1.
Okay. You're moving option 1. Matt is seconding that. Anyone opposed? Motion carried.
What option 1 is
So
for the
option
public
1,
record.
yeah, very good. File section 57, community charter notice in the land title office. Property. Property owner may apply to have the notice removed once the contract intervention has been resolved. So that is what we just approved. Thank you, staff.
Can I make a comment?
You do.
Yeah. I've mentioned it before, and I'll continue to say it. Being rural remote, and we're seeing it with the fire loss group. We're seeing it with these types of buildings. I saw it personally myself when we were building our place. It is tough building out here.
Yeah.
Get contractors. Some of them are you have to get from Squamish, Vancouver, Kamloops. It is tough building out here, and the 3-year and then the 2-year extension really isn't enough, especially if it's non-resident property owners that are building. If you're a permanent resident, it's a little bit different, but when you're not, and I think we need to look at it again, and it's just not enough time. And then we have the fires, we have road closures, and the list goes on and on. So I think we need to, as a board, look at that policy, the building bylaw, and have a really close look, specifically for rural remote areas and for non-resident property owners that are building. Thank you.
You'd like to provide longer timelines, I see CAO Paul and Jen Ford.
I would defer to
Okay.
elected officials.
I was just gonna say, this is something that we could advocate to the province in the building code sphere, because this isn't unique to our regional district. I think other regional districts are also having challenges. If you're having this challenge, there are other rural and remote communities that would be having this challenge. And we probably have a better uptake and support from the province if we advocate on a provincial basis. So taking this to a SILGA resolution might be useful. But I don't think we're in a space of changing our building bylaw in contravention to the building code, which is provincially mandated and required. As far as I understand.
It's not the building code. The building code is fine the way it is, but it's a timeline.
Okay,
So it's our building bylaw that sets the timeline, not the province.
okay. Okay,
So
let's take that offline and put it into a policy committee discussion or a future.
yes,
All right, so that is noted, but CAO Paul and Director Malka.
If it's possible, a recommendation to the board to ask staff to bring back recommendations based on remote challenges when it comes to our existing building bylaw timelines.
All right, that's a very good idea. So should we make that recommendation to the board? To look at these timelines in our own building bylaws and see if we can be more generous with timelines, especially in some of the rural remote areas. I'll move that.
Just
I'll-
speaking to that, I can speak from experience as a owner build. I think there's a difference if you have funding to hire out contractors and you can move a project along a lot quicker. But if you're doing a part-time build like these guys are, or you're both working, which you want to be able to support people being able to do that, because it's in theory a more affordable way to build, but things take time. We had to extend and have a few emails about extending, but the flip side of that is if it gets delayed too long. And there are updates to building codes that are for safety reasons or energy reasons, so it's an interesting discussion.
Okay, so we've got that recommendation, Director Matt?
Yeah, I just think that we should prioritize the timeline that we're gonna allow. Like, we need to get this changed sooner than later. Because like Sal says, and even, throughout this area, winter is not the best time to be building stuff, right? And there's lots of delays and all that, just based on the weather. So you've got a time frame here, say from March to October for building. And trying to build in winter is not, a happy thing. And depending on the winter, it can be near impossible. So we need to accommodate for that. And we can do that.
We can look at changing that. I think that's a second from. Thank you. And is anyone opposed? Is that clear enough in terms of motion? Okay, motion carried, thank you. Very good. One more.
Item 7.5, and we do not have a property owner in attendance today.
Thank you. So 7.5 is, yeah, there. Make sure I'm looking at the right one. No request. For decision and notice on title construction contrary to building bylaw regulations, and this is LaChance and LaChance Area C. Staff would like to speak to this one.
To the chair, I'm open to answer any questions the committee may ask.
Recommend.
Yeah, it seems that, didn't we just talk about this at the last EAD meeting? Because these are yurts, correct?
Yes.
And so the building code is specific to yurts, or it's the same building code for yurt construction, regular construction? How does that work?
To the chair, thank you. Yurts are considered buildings under the BC Building Code. And they are structures intended to support or shelter occupancy. The BC Building Code doesn't recognize them as a camping unit. And board has previously determined that the yurts must comply with the building code. Because they don't meet the tourist accommodation use.
What would you like to do?
Move option 1.
I will second that. Is anyone opposed? Option 1 is to file a section 57 community charter notice in the land title office with respect to the property. The property owner may apply to have the notice removed once the contravention, I'm having trouble with that word, has been resolved. So that's been moved and seconded. Anyone opposed? Motion carried. And I see Mr. Hodgkins here, who doesn't know that we moved it closed to the next item, so you have a little bit of time.
Appreciate the heads up.
Yes, I know, but we're gonna take a 5-minute. So there's one more, 7.6.
Item 7.6, I'm just going to allow the property owner to join us remotely.
Okay. because I'm doing it.
7.6, request for decision, notice on title construction contrary to building bylaw regulations, TOPID Area D.
Thank you. Staff are recommending a notice on title be registered. And do we have questions for staff? Yes, go ahead.
We have lots of questions today. I have a general question about greenhouses and farm status. If you have farm status, do greenhouses require a permit? Because there's some situations where if you're farming property, there's buildings allowed without permits. So that's my general question.
The chair, the ALC has descriptions of what meets the farm building. And I believe
Through the chair, in our bylaw, a greenhouse would be exempt from a building permit if they were farm status, but it also the size was over 600 meters squared would require a permit. This particular property does not have farm status.
And my second question would be, if this property began farming, would that mean that this could be removed from title with the greenhouse, and or are these bigger than 600 meters squared?
to the chair, the AL or ALC would have to they would have to be they would have to have the farmstead registered on the property. So once they get that farmstead registered on the property, we would need confirmation of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't see any questions from Director Demare.
Yes. How long would it take to get a farm license through the ALC? Farm status?
Through the chair, they applied through the BC assessment in order to get the farm class registered on there.
And you would have to show a certain amount of income over a year. So it's not a quick process.
What type of time frame
I can speak to
approximate to go through that process?
So I think it would depend on the property size, what they're farming. Yeah, it really, because you could plant stuff in advance and that could qualify for the year, but it is a BC assessment decision, depending on what they're growing. But it would, for us developing our farm and getting farm status was at least a year in the making, planning, planting, and then you have to apply at a certain time in advance. So it's a timely process, but it is possible. And so if that's the path that they're taking to develop farming, it means that they can potentially remove this from their title. It's land getting into production in a way in the valley.
No, I was just looking at our 6-month deferral. So 6-month deferral wouldn't make that happen.
Well, and do we know if this person is even interested in applying for farm status? Do we know that? We don't know that.
He's in the meeting if you're wanting to.
I'm sorry, yes. Mr. Tofig is here. Would you like to speak to this?
Hi, hi to everyone. I don't know if I can, I hear you guys well. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can, and thank you for being here. Go ahead.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time, everybody. I write this statement, the summary, and I was really thinking of what to say. And I think the summary I sent you guys was the 6 years or 7 years of my experience working in Squamish, Upper Valley, and SLRD, and having all the challenges which I had at the moment and even right now. And I would love to apply for farm status, the farm title, but the problem is I have to show an income somehow, maybe selling eggs or vegetable or any type of farm material which I grow in the property, which I will be okay to do that. But the problem was when we started to do the structure for the greenhouse, when the SLRD walked in and stopped the permit work to stop the construction, they said, oh, we saw the third dwelling and zoning is not allowed to have the third dwelling. So they stopped in the middle of COVID, which I spent $120,000 galvanized pre-hand structure for the greenhouse. And it was a big money back in the day and even right now. And the problem was when they stopped the work, all the crew was coming from Texas. And they had to go back, and when they go back, the COVID happened. So they stuck in Texas. They couldn't come back and finish the job. And since then, SLRD, in a way, they having the structure for, I don't know, they wanted to make everything clear with the third dwelling, so they didn't let me to start finishing the greenhouse project. And the shortage of the food for the whole community and even Squamish and the inflation and the material and all the tariffs, we feel it right now these days, like with our own financial statuses. And it was a big problem for me to not finish the project, and my greenhouse was still sitting the same way it did 4 years ago, and I couldn't finish it. And back and forth with SLRD, they said one of the residential, which when I bought the property, to convert to the farm status. And when you do that, you're able to have the square footage and everything would work well. I'm agreed to do anything that you guys offer me to do, but I think it was too much of regulation and misunderstanding or communication. We didn't go through it. But I would love to tear down all the walls, make it all one unit flat with no kitchen, no bathroom, and occupy it with farm title or farm storage, whatever that is. Politics, right names. I don't know. I think I talked too much. Thank you though for the appreciate for the time. I don't know what to do next. If you guys can let me know what to do next, I would more than welcome to do it.
Through the chair, we need zoning compliance, which that parcel is not permitted, the 3 dwellings. So we need to work with them to decommission one of the dwellings. And then, like I say, without farm status, if you have so many accessory buildings, you're only permitted a total number of square footage for accessory buildings and number of buildings dependent on the size of your property. That's to do with zoning. So there's compliance issues with zoning. So there is a fair bit of work to be done with that property.
Ismail, there is Young Agrarians and Squamish Climate Action Network. They are constantly trying to connect people looking for land to farm with people who, if you're not living in the valley and you need someone to farm that land, that could be an option. It would be nice to see the greenhouses being used for food production. And that's just, just a note that there are ways to get that land into production.
Yes, that will be. Can I talk? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. And I first of all, I heard.
Yeah, I would love that because I have 5 acres. I have 5 acres with all fenced, and I have greenhouse. And I think I'm one of those property in Upper Valley with the permits of water. I have 1 domestic, 1 irrigation, and it's coming from the Cloudburst Creek, and I got fresh water. And I think we are losing opportunity because of zonings and all this regulation. And I would love to make money and help the community to use the land, to use the greenhouse, and use the fresh water. And I think I will be more than happy and just not wait for SLRD to keep emailing each other back and forth. No, let's just finish the greenhouse, and whoever wants to rent it, I would more than happy to chip in.
Did I understand that you are applying for farm status?
I have to make some material. I have to have some kind of production. I don't have nothing right now.
Right.
If you can find me somebody, rent the greenhouse, rent the land, and tell me, yeah, they will give me some production, so I will be like, okay, let's do some commission, and I give you land, you give me product. Then I can apply for the farm title. But what am I offering right now to the farm title to be able to pass the regulation?
Yeah, you have a number of challenges here.
This issue right now is just about the greenhouses. So if, again, our option is we apply now with a notice on title and then farming gets established, that would potentially remove it from the notice on title. And the other option, option B, is if we're deferring it 6 months, it would get rolled on automatically, and 6 months isn't really a realistic enough time. There's lots of ways out there to connect and get farming established, which is what we want to see in the valley. And that's the direction you want to encourage, because that will help in one way bringing some of this stuff into compliance. But if we're just talking about the greenhouses, the options are basically we're putting the notice on title now, it exists and it can get removed, or you're deferring it and it will eventually.
6 months.
Yeah.
And it's impossible to accomplish everything within the 6 months. That would prevent putting those on title, correct?
Through the chair, part of the non-compliance is that they're dwellings, so a decommission of one of the dwellings would also be part of that requirement. That could be certainly applied for and move forward.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I will do one of the addresses and not use it as a residential and use it as a farm title, farm structure, and I hope SLRD would be happy, because all this structure with the grandfathers. It was the ex-owner issue. It wasn't my issue, and I didn't have the knowledge back in the day in 2017 to have to know the regulation. I wouldn't buy this property.
Yes. And that is the point of putting a notice on title on the property, is so that the prospective buyers do know.
No, I don't. This is the ex-owner problem, and you telling me yes for the next owner. I don't want to sell the property. That's not an issue. The issue was that it was a grandfather rules, and I didn't know anything about, okay, if it's over 100 years old, do you need a permit? I don't know. And no, I don't want to sell this property. So you tell me yes to put the title issue. I want to work with you guys and make these greenhouses, and I want to make products, and I'm a businessman. And I think I lost a lot of money, and it was just a greenhouse. It wasn't like commercial or retail. I was trying to make fruits.
Thank you. Any other comments from staff or questions from directors? How would you like to proceed?
With this one, I would love to see farming happening more in the valley, and that's the path that we want to get to. I think with this one, we proceed with the notice on title, as I don't believe it can become into compliance in 6 months. So I think deferring it is just delaying.
Right.
And the other thing is, if this was on title earlier, it would have prevented a purchase.
On purchasing.
Yeah. So it is a protection.
Got it. And we still would like you to work with staff and resolve these issues. Thank you. Okay, so we have that motion. Seconder, Director Mack. Director Demare is in favor. Is anyone opposed? Motion carried. So that is option 1, to file a section 57 community charter notice in the land title office with respect to the property. The property owner may apply to have the notice removed once the contravention has been resolved. Thank you for coming today, and I hope that you can work these things through and resolve them. Thank you. All right. We're a 5-minute recess. The next is going to close.
The next thing on the agenda is 7.7, which is the
Oh, we're going to
information
finish
report.
that one first.
It's
Sure, we
completely
can.
up to the
Mr. Hutchins
committee.
is here.
Can't get rid of
Yes.
me that easily.
Apologies, we are gonna look at select funds first, then we'll have a 5-minute break and then have to close the meeting. So this is. I like these reports. Thank you. My favorite. I think. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Colin Hodgins, Deputy Director of Finance. This is the select funds report to show the balances of the 5 different select funds. One thing I will comment on is just that we're coming up to year end. So if there's any items on this that are outdated and maybe can be removed or rescinded, if you wanna just connect with me offline and we can tidy anything up for year end.
Okay,
And I'm happy to answer any other questions.
good. Just looking at general select, any issues, anyone? Area A,
It's all good.
I do believe everything in area B is all good as well. And area C, Director Matt.
It is also good.
And Director DeJong, what do you think about area D?
It's all good.
Okay. Then, motion to. We receive this one, yeah, motion to receive. By Director John, seconded by Director Matt. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, we got on early. We got off easy.
No, we usually like to pester you more than that.
I know, I'm used to more tough questions, but I'll be ready next time.
Okay, 5 minutes and then we'll have our closing meeting.
So 5 minutes and we'll come back. Thank you.
5 minutes, that's what we do. Ready? Okay, we're back from our recess and we are gonna move into close. A motion to move into close. I'll move that, seconded by Director Demott. Everyone in favor? No vote, okay, we're in close.